You don't need to do something wrong to be suspended from the U.S. anymore. Recently, the country has been restricting who has access to it. So, whether you have complete paperwork or not, if you fall into the category of people under their restrictions, officials reject you even before you have the chance to speak. What used to be a predictable visa process is now filled with new roadblocks, sudden suspensions, and rising denial rates. And worse, travelers from certain countries are feeling it the most. Are you included in the restricted category? Stick around to find out. In this video, we'll review 7 travel restrictions from the U.S. that affect different individuals or countries. We'll take you on a journey through these restrictions from 2017 to the most recent ones in 2025. But what's really happening? Who's being restricted and why? Stay until the end because this might change your travel plans completely. Number 6 might completely surprise you because no one would have thought such a policy would exist someday. Number 1 on our list is called the Trump travel ban. On January 27, 2017, President Trump did something that many people did not see coming. He signed an executive order that suspended travel to the United States for 90 days from 7 majority Muslim countries. Who are these countries? There are Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. Additionally, he suspended the resettlement of all Syrian refugees indefinitely. According to the president, his duty as the leader of the country was to protect the security interests of the United States and its people. Therefore, he made the declaration to tighten their security measures and protect their citizens from security threats and public safety risks. Because of this policy, the authorities detained over 700 travelers, and up to 60,000 visas were provisionally revoked. How did people react? This order did not go down well with nationals from those countries. There were demonstrations around the country at airports over immigrant rights and regarding refugee resettlement. Even civil liberties organizations undertook several legal challenges to the order because they felt it constituted religious discrimination. However, on February 3, 2017, a nationwide temporary restraining order, TRO, was upheld by the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. As a result, the Department of Homeland Security stopped enforcing portions of the order, and the State Department revalidated visas that had been previously revoked. But this development didn't last for long, and we'll discuss that further. But for now, let's talk about another travel ban that caused another round of commotion. Number 2 is Travel Ban 3.0. On September 24, 2017, President Donald Trump signed Presidential Proclamation 9645, also known as Travel Ban 3.0. What did this involve? This proclamation extended the previous restrictions permanently, modified the list of countries subject to it, and specified the affected immigration categories for their nationals. First, the restriction applied to all nationals of North Korea and Syria. Second, it affected nationals of Iran, except those on student or exchange visitor visas. Third, nationals of Chad, Libya, and Yemen were affected either as immigrants or on tourist or business visas. Fourth, it affected nationals of Somalia as immigrants. Lastly, it affected certain government officials of Venezuela and their immediate family members, except citizens on tourist or business visas. Sudan, which was on the first list, was removed. But why is there an entry denial for these countries? According to the proclamation, these countries failed to adequately share information related to public safety and terrorism about their nationals, among other reasons. However, the following year, in April, Chad was also removed from the list of restricted countries after meeting the minimum security standards. The next restriction was something no one saw coming. It was completely unexpected. Number 3, Travel Ban 4.0. On February 21st, 2020, another regulation came into effect, adding restrictions on nationals of additional countries. This regulation is called Presidential Proclamation 9,983 and was titled Improving Enhanced Vetting Capabilities and Processes for Detecting Attempted Entry into the United States by Terrorists or Other Public Safety Threats. What was this proclamation all about? It proclaimed that the United States would stop granting immigrant visas for nationals of Eritrea, Kyrgyzstan, Burma, Myanmar, and Nigeria as immigrants, and would suspend participation of Sudanese and Tanzanian nationals in the diversity visa program. The reason for this regulation was due to identity management and information sharing issues. Although these restrictions we've discussed so far were contested in court, some of them were implemented for a short while. In 2021, when President Biden took office, he revoked both Presidential Proclamation 9645 and Presidential Proclamation 9983. However, after Donald Trump's return to the presidency in 2025, things changed so swiftly. What happened? Well, that leads us to the next travel restriction on our list. Number 4, Travel Ban for Trump 2.0. In 2025, on his first day back at the office, Trump signed another executive order, 14,161, titled Protecting the United States from Foreign Terrorists and Other National Security and Public Safety Threats. But that wasn't the last of it. On June 4th, 2025, President Trump issued another order that came as a surprise to many. In pursuance of the previous proclamation, in January, President Trump issued another proclamation titled Restricting the Entry of Foreign Nationals to Protect the United States from Foreign Terrorists and Other National Security and Public Safety Threats. But what does this involve? This regulation restricts the entry of foreign nationals from certain countries into the United States, citing national security, public safety, and other concerns as valid reasons. Beginning Monday, June 9th, 2025, foreign nationals from the specified countries who are outside the United States and do not hold a valid visa will be denied entry into the United States. You might be wondering which countries are affected. Before I mention them, I want you to know that this order involves both partial and complete restrictions. Moving forward, the following information may interest you, so pay attention. However, if you're benefiting from this update, please consider liking this video and subscribing to help us beat the algorithm and reach a wider audience. Regarding which countries are completely affected, it completely bars foreign nationals from permanently or temporarily residing in the following 12 countries: Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, the Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. Additionally, it also partially bars entry to the United States to foreign nationals with a B1, B2, B1/B2, FM, and J non-immigrant visa from the following 7 countries: Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. This regulation is similar to the previous executive order in 2017. The only difference is that Iraq was excluded. The order also barred entry for all refugees who did not possess either a visa or valid travel documents for a period of 120 days. Following this particular travel ban, everyone was shocked when the media reported yet another potential travel restriction looming in the air. Which brings us to number 5, expansion of travel ban 2.0. On June 14th, 2025, news outlets reported that an internal Department of State memo sent that day to consular posts indicated that 36 more countries would be given 60 days to meet the Trump administration's benchmarks and requirements or face either partial or complete entry restrictions. What could these requirements be? We'll break it down, but first, is your country on the list? Well, Pay attention to find out. The travel ban affects the following countries: Angola, Antigua and Barbuda, Benin, Bhutan, Burkina Faso, Cabo Verde, Cambodia, Cameroon, Democratic Republic of Congo, Djibouti, Dominica, Ethiopia, Egypt, Gabon, Gambia, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Kyrgyzstan, Liberia, Malawi, Mauritania, Niger, Nigeria, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, Sao Tome and Principe, Senegal, South Sudan, Syria, Tanzania, Tonga, Tuvalu, Uganda, Vanuatu, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. The requirements or issues raised in the memo vary from country to country. They include concerns around a country's ability to produce bona fide identity documents, about widespread government fraud, or anti-Semitic and anti-American activity, or large numbers of citizens from the country overstaying their U.S. visas. If you're a student hoping to study in the United States, you might be shocked to learn about the next travel restriction. Please pay attention because it could affect you. Number 6, Harvard International Students Restriction. In early June, President Trump enacted another set of restrictions on foreign student visas at Harvard University. What does this mean? This regulation prevents international students from entering the country. Additionally, it directs the Secretary of State to consider revoking existing F, M, or J visas for current Harvard students who meet the proclamation's criteria. But here's the twist. The proclamation does not apply to aliens attending other U.S. universities through the Student Exchange Visa Program, SEVP. It also exempts aliens whose entry is deemed in the national interest. But why the suspension? Well, in that proclamation, Trump wrote, "I have determined that the entry of the class of foreign nationals described above is detrimental to the interests of the United States because, in my judgment, Harvard's conduct has rendered it an unsuitable destination for foreign students and researchers." The restriction is part of a broader set of measures by the Trump administration targeting international students and the institutions that host them, aimed at safeguarding national security. Before we dive into our last travel restriction, please like this video and subscribe because these restrictions are more than just travel policies. They also carry hidden messages. Our last but not least travel restriction targets foreign nationals living on American soil. Number 7, foreign nationals visa restriction. It is interesting to note that this new visa restriction policy is related to social media posts. It applies to foreign nationals who are responsible for censoring protected expression in the United States. What does this mean? According to Section 2(1)(2)(3)(c) of the Immigration and Nationality Act, the Secretary of State has the authority to render inadmissible any alien whose entry into the United States would have potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences for the United States. In pursuance of this act, the visa restriction policy applies to any foreign official who issues arrest warrants for U.S. citizens or U.S. residents based on social media posts on American platforms while physically present on U.S. soil. Since everyone has the fundamental right to free speech, the U.S. government does not tolerate anyone undermining the freedom of its citizens, and anyone who tries to is denied entry into the United States. There you have it, 7 U.S. travel restrictions affecting several individuals and countries. As we've seen, the United States in 2025 isn't just changing how people visit, it's redefining who gets in. From visa suspensions to tighter screening and new political restrictions, the message is clear. Entry to the U.S. is no longer guaranteed. While some view these changes as necessary for national security or economic stability, others see them as barriers built on fear and politics rather than facts. And for families, students, or professionals hoping to visit or make a life in the U.S., the result is the same. The doors are closing. So if you're watching this from a country affected by these new restrictions, remember that you're not alone, and this story isn't finished. Policies can shift just as fast as they were introduced. History shows us that doors can close, and they can also open again. In the meantime, stay informed, prepare thoroughly, and don't give up hope. If this video helped you understand what's really going on in the travel world, please hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because in a world where policies change overnight, staying informed is your greatest power. Until we come your way again with our next travel video, stay safe.